Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Good morning, everyone. Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Hope you're doing well on this fine Tuesday in 2025 as we get ready to wrap up the season. Or the year, excuse me, not wrapping up the season. We're halfway through the football season, but started pulling out the old holiday decorations yesterday. I did it, Jeff Mans. If you're watching, I don't know if you're watching, but if you are, we started the Festivus up this joint with some Christmas decorations yesterday. Yes, we did. I'm Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. I'm with you here. Well, the show's here every day, Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We go about an hour each day. I'm with you Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. On Wednesdays, I'm with Jeff. So we have this show from 12 to 1 Eastern, about an hour break after this show is over before Jeff Mann's show starts on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. That show is on from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we give you 4 hours a day here, 1 hour here, 3 hours on SiriusXM. I'm with you 4 times a week. On Wednesdays when I'm not here, I'm with Jeff from 2 to 5 Eastern. Justin Fenceman and Rich Mileto are here on Wednesdays. It's me and Tyler Beaker on Thursdays, me and Russell Clay, or Russell Clay and I, for being proper, on Fridays. And today, since it's a Tuesday, it's Armando Marsal. And I'll throw up on the screen there what we're talking about today. Lots to discuss. What happened last night in that Arizona-Dallas game, some takeaways from the Monday Night Football. We obviously have a section here you can see on the screen, Keeper Cut, a big Keeper Cut thing. I actually, obviously, put this together right before, like, you know how this goes. You put a show plan together, and 10 minutes later, something happens. We had a huge trade in the NFL. You've probably seen it by now. If you haven't seen it by now, the Jaguars added a wide receiver. We'll talk about that here in a few minutes after we talk some Monday Night Football. We'll also go through, again, a section of Keeper Cut. What do we do with these players? Devin, Neal, what's going on in the Giants' backfield? Tank Bigsby, Jarret Patterson, is he a thing? Xavier Worthy, we'll talk about those guys and some others. And then about 25 minutes, since it is that Tuesday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, as we do every day, Tuesday through Friday. We have those guests on halfway through the show. Today we'll visit with Armando Marsal, some Week 10 storylines. We'll get his take on the backfields of Arizona and Kansas City. A lot of people digging RJ Harvey. We'll talk a little bit more about his scenario there with Denver. Omarion Hampton, not great news there. Not horrible news, but not great news. What's going on with the passing attack with the Commanders? What's going on with the passing attack with the Saints? We'll talk about that with Armando Marsal. I'm Ray Flowers. You can follow me on Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, all those places at the Ray Flowers. As I've said already, you can find me here on the show 4 days a week. Discord's popping. And right now you can get signed up. Click the subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page. Get signed up for any of the products we have at FantasyGuru.com. That includes our MVP plan, which is basically everything that isn't football or baseball. Tomorrow for baseball, we're going to have the free agent article drop. We'll continue to update that. Lots of news in baseball. Brandon Woodruff became a free agent. Freddie Peralta obviously had his contract picked up, the club option there. The big news this morning was Shota Imanaga. 3 years, $57 million turned down by the Cubs. Is he hurt? Like, that's a weird contract not to have picked up by the Cubs. We'll get into that more, obviously, in the offseason. But that article tracking all the free agent movement will go up tomorrow. But the MVP plan is basically everything that isn't football or baseball. And that includes NASCAR, PGA, MMA, horse racing, basketball, hockey, on and on and on. That's the MVP plan. Send an email to support@fantasyguru.com. Support@fantasyguru.com if you want to get signed up for that. In terms of this show, go to FG, just click that Elite Plus tab at the top of the page. You can find all the previous shows there. You can also type in Fantasy Sports Daily where you're listening to your podcast. That's Pandora, Spotify, YouTube Music, iTunes, Apple Music. Just type in Fantasy Sports Daily there. And then the 3 places you can leave comments and questions live and watch the show. You can just watch the show, or you can watch the show on demand if you want. YouTube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork, Facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ, and Twitter X @FantasyGuru site. All right, let's get into this. Let's see if I can fix this banner. There we go. There we go. All right, there we go. You can see my face a little bit better. Not like you care. Maybe you do. I don't know. Hey, ladies. Monday Night Football, Arizona and Dallas. This one was a victory for the Cardinals. 27-17 over Dallas. It's really interesting. Dallas made a trade to improve their defense. They had arguably the best defender in football in Micah Parsons and couldn't figure that out. Now they're continuing to try to make moves to improve a defense. It's terrible. Jerry Jones, Cowboys. We all knew this was going to happen if you traded Micah Parsons. Anyway, Cowboys fall to 3-5-1. Cardinals improved to 3-5. There is no quarterback controversy with the Cardinals. At least that's what we're hearing. Gannon came out and said after the game, the head coach came out after the game and said, look, yeah, Jakobi Brissett's been great, but Kyler Murray is our quarterback when healthy. Now, interestingly enough, in 3 games that Brissett has played, including last night, obviously, he's thrown for 260 yards and 2 touchdowns every time. When he's been the quarterback, they've averaged 25.7 points a game, which is 5 points a game more than they've averaged with Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's only had 1 game of 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. Brissett's gone 260 and 2-3 straight. I don't think there's much of an argument, to be fair, that they aren't better with Brissett under center offensively. And that's saying something because Jakobi Brissett is a very competent NFL quarterback. He's been around for years. He's an excellent backup. What did they pay Kyler Murray? $200 million? I don't even remember at this point in time. You're paying this guy $40, $50 million a year, and Jakobi Brissett's better than him. They're going back to Kyler Murray with the foot injury. They're going back to him when he's healthy. Maybe it's this week. We'll see. Maybe they try to string this out, but the coach did say that the quarterback is Kyler Murray when he's healthy. The question is, are we going to get truth about the health? Speaking of the backfield, let's talk a little bit more about that with the Cardinals. And this is, how many of you asked, how many of you thought of, how many of you read, how many of you were concerned with the storyline that Bam Knight wasn't being utilized in practice? And you pivoted away from Bam Knight because you were worried because practice reports suggested he wasn't working with the ones. If you did that, you made the right decision. 2 catches for 20 yards, 9 carries for 27 yards, 11 touches, 47 yards. Blah. Now, he did lead the backfield in routes run. He did lead the backfield in snaps. So, yeah. The guy that was running with the ones didn't play last night. Michael Carter, the guy that was running with the ones, Michael Carter, all week, Michael Carter, didn't play last night. The guy who actually led the backfield last night was Mario DiMercato. Now, DiMercato, again, ran 7 routes to 19 for Knight. So Knight doubled him there. He only played 2/3 of the snaps of Knight. He played all the third down snaps, which is interesting because even though he played all the third down snaps, he only caught 1 pass, did DiMercato. But he had 14 carries for 79 yards. So the last 3 games, Bam Knight has 40 touches. Carter, who didn't even play last night, had 20 touches, and DiMercato has 16. The team has no plan. Let's just call it like it is. They have no plan. The plan is no plan. They say they're going to go by committee and all that kind of stuff. Okay, fine. But we've had in the last 4 games this team has played, Bam Knight was the lead running back, Michael Carter was the lead running back, and DiMercato was the lead running back. They don't have a plan. Benson is technically eligible to return from his ankle injury this week. We'll see if it happens. They desperately need him back because they don't have a plan in the backfield. In terms of the pass catchers, Marvin Harrison, 7 for 96 and 1, another good effort for him. Though, let's be honest about this. Everyone's talking, Brissett and Harrison. Harrison caught, 15 passes in 3 games? 11 passes in 3 games. Excuse me, I misspoke. I think let me pull that up. Isn't it 2, 2, and 7 last night? So before we all get ahead of ourselves and, oh my God, he's going to go to the Pro Bowl with Jakobi Brissett. Yeah, it's 2 catches, 7 catches. Again, I've said this before. I think that Brissett is better for Harrison, and we saw that last night. But again, 2 of the 3 games where Brissett's been the quarterback, he's only caught 2 passes. But it was all Harrison and McBride last night. That's it. That's the entirety of the offense. McBride, 5 for 55 and a touchdown. That is now 4 touchdowns in 3 games. 4 touchdowns in 3 games. Let me say that one more time. 4 touchdowns in 3 games with Jakobi Brissett for Trey McBride. Trey McBride scored 5 touchdowns in 33 games the last 2 years, playing ostensibly with Kyler Murray. Just saying. So Arizona's kind of messy. We know that it's Harrison and McBride. We don't know what's going on in the backfield. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be for the next game, though it'll be Murray if he's healthy, if you believe the team. On the other side, again, the Cowboys trying to salvage their season. Their defense is terrible. Defense was terrible last year when Micah Parsons wasn't on the field. This is duh. And now it's so interesting that the front office is doing things and they're saying things and the fans are. It's like, you had Micah Parsons, man. And who knows that whole thing? Jerry Jones, and we had an agreement, even though there was no agent present, even though nothing was ever signed. That's not, It's not 1959, right? That's not how we do things here in the 21st century. Regardless, Cowboys suck on defense, and that's not going to change. On the offensive side of things, Jaden Blue, out of nowhere, was inactive last night. Malik Davis, who's basically been a special teams player for his career, was activated, and Davis touched the ball once. I mean, it's dangerous to have a scenario where you don't really have a backup running back, and they didn't really have a backup running back last night. Davis touched the ball once and played 5 snaps. Javonte Williams played 58 of the 67 snaps. He was on the field the whole game. And he was fine last night, 15 for 83, caught a pass, didn't do anything. Unfortunately, fantastic in the fantasy space. Was fine from a real world perspective, but again, fantasy. I don't know what the plan is with the Cowboys. There are rumors that they could trade Blue. That I don't know what they're doing here. But when Javonte Williams slows or gets hurt, if it's not Blue, I don't know what this team is doing. So this is and again, they've kind of been souring on Blue since back in the offseason when they talked about his practice habits and all this kind of stuff. So who knows what's going on behind the scenes. But Malik Davis is not a better running back than Jaden Blue. Well, let's just be honest about that. CeeDee Lamb, 7 for 85. George Pickens, 6 for 79, doing their normal thing. Jake Ferguson got back to the world of living. 7 targets, 5 catches for 50 yards, about what we would expect from him on a weekly basis. So he was fine. And Flournoy, scored a touchdown. He actually played more snaps than Tolbert and Turpin combined. So Flournoy looks like he's the wide receiver 3 now of this team with the Cowboys. So there is that. The big trade. Let's move on away from Monday Night Football. Got about 20 minutes till we visit with Armando Marsal. The big trade was Jakobi Meyers, 4th and 6th round pick from the Raiders to the Jaguars. I saw already someone mentioned in Discord over at FG. Well, I thought Parker Washington was going to be a thing. Whoops. Well, we got an update on the health situation of Travis Hunter. His knee injury is not significant. That's what we're hearing now. He's obviously on the IR. He's going to miss 4 games. Ian Rappaport saying he's not expected to be out long term. So that's really good news. Now, we don't know how much, if any, time that Brian Thomas is going to miss with his ankle injury. So that's unclear at the moment. Did the Jaguars add Meyers because of the injury to Hunter? Did they add it because of the injury to Hunter and Thomas? Are they souring on Thomas? We don't know. So what we know right now is that Jakobi Meyers is going to be part of this football team. Parker Washington is going to be part of the receiving corps. And for now, the third guy is Brian Thomas if he's healthy. I don't mean third in pecking order. I just mean the third guy if he's healthy. Jakobi Meyers, I've seen people getting really excited. Hey, look, is Trevor Lawrence appreciably better than Geno Smith? No. Is Jakobi Meyers better than Parker Washington? Yes. Is Jakobi Meyers somebody that can catch 5 passes a week and move the chains? Absolutely. Also remember with this offense, too, is they're gathering weapons here because Brenton Strange, who's out with the injury right now, Brenton Strange was catching 5 passes a week before he got hurt. So the Jaguars are becoming more deep on offense, and they're becoming more difficult to defend. Jakobi Meyers, obviously, in my opinion, should be looked at as a more productive player, which is not saying anything because he's scoring 7 points a week with the Raiders. But he's a 550 guy, unless Thomas is out. And then he might be getting 10 targets a week, and it's a whole new ball game that we have to reassess. So that's the big news story there. All right, let's move on. Let's see. I got some comments here already. There's a lot of comments here in the chat room. Look at everybody. Let's see. Oh, Godfrey's, there it is. Are we done with Blue now? Reminds me of the Vidal from last year. The answer to the question is context. If I had Javonte Williams, and I don't in any league, but if I did, I would hold Jaden Blue. I believe in handcuffing. You can see the success that Williams has had. Jeff Mann spent all offseason talking about Jaden Blue and how his talents match the blocking scheme of the Cowboys. If you're one of the people that just randomly grab backups, it doesn't work. It's not a plan. I literally say this every single day in Discord because every single day in Discord, someone asks me about the hot pickup of the week, Dylan Sampson, Brashard Smith. Every single day, I get I'm going to grab the random running back. If you grab Jaden Blue and you don't have Javonte Williams, you can drop him. That's fine. You probably should have never added him in the first place. Because again, you should handcuff your guys. If you have Javonte Williams, I'd hold because right now they don't have anybody. They can't turn the backfield over to Malik Davis. Come on, they can't do that. So if Javonte Williams gets hurt, Miles Sanders is already done. They got nothing. And there are some rumors that Blue could be traded. I don't know if that's, again, wait through today at least. But it's up to you on Blue. Yeah, and Vidal, look at Vidal. Last year sucked. This year he's back in good graces. I mean, that's how it goes. Running backs, it's a tough place to be anymore in the NFL. Yo, morning men and women. Hello, Nick. Welcome to the show. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, Fantasy Arnold and Angela, everybody joining in. Keeper cut. Tony Pollard still worth holding on to. This is from Chris D. Good question. He could have been on this list. I think that Pollard is worth holding on to. Now, it depends what your setup is. It depends what your backfield looks like. Is Tony Pollard a comfortable start right now? No. As of right now, he's nothing other than a flex option. We still have bye weeks, 4 teams on bye this week. So there's still that, moving around, all that kind of stuff. The offense is bad for the Titans. We've talked about it repeatedly here on the show. Everyone's talked about it. It's just not good. So if I had Pollard on my team, I would hold him. Okay. I don't think I have Pollard in any league this year either. Depends on your makeup. It depends if it's PPR or not. Depends how big your league is. Depends how big your bench is. Depends what your backfield looks like. But in general, I would say hold on to Tony Pollard. Doesn't mean you start him, but I would be holding on to him. Angela says Kyler should be a punt returner. Yeah, he should. Or maybe he should go back to baseball. The Athletics did draft him. Was it 9th or 10th overall when he came out of college? Let's see here. Oh, we got a couple of trade questions. We'll get to those later. Okay. All right. So let's talk about this keeper cut thing. Monangai, the star of the week, obviously, in the NFL from the waiver wire. Remember, he went nuts. Almost 200 yards from offense from scrimmage. The Bengals are hideous against the run. They are absolutely hideous against the run. Every week in my matchup article that comes out Thursday mornings, I talk and do charts talking about, defense versus position, right? And you look right now at the Bengals, they allow more points per game than any team in the universe. In a half-point PPR setup, they allow 5.5 points more a week to the running back than any other team. That's a touchdown difference. It's a massive difference. 5.5 yards a carry. They allow more catches to the running back position than any team in football. They've allowed more receiving touchdowns to the running back than any team in football. The Bengals are atrocious defensively, and especially against the run. Okay, so that's a large part of what happened with Monangai this weekend. He smashed an opponent. Jeff Mann's talked about this too. Why did the Bears feel comfortable having Johnson and Swift both rest last week with their injuries? Because they knew Monangai was going to kill the Bengals because the Bengals are atrocious against the run. So that has to be part baked in here. Monangai is going to have a role. And it's easy to draw the parallels to the Lions from the last couple of years with Ben Johnson. I think Monangai is a 10-touch-a-week guy. I think Swift is an 18-touch-a-week guy. Monangai is a flex option. He's not taking over the backfield if Swift is healthy. He's not going to be the lead back if Swift is healthy. No, he will be utilized. Okay. But he is a flex option. He's not taking over the backfield. He is obviously a keep, but keep those expectations with him in check as well. Blake Corum, we talked about this on the show yesterday a little bit. Blake Corum, despite erroneous reports to the contrary, is not taking over the backfield with the Rams. He is not in a timeshare in the Rams backfield. I don't know how everyone missed the fact that Kyren Williams touched the ball 25 times last game. 25 touches last game, right? Or he was 26. Oh, let's go 25. I'm not looking at it. There's no shared backfield if a running back's getting 25 touches. Corum is a poor flex option because he's not really involved as a pass catcher, and he's got to get in the end zone because it's 9 to 10 carries, 48 yards, good effort, helps the team. Not of any value in the fantasy space. Again, he's a handcuff. He's a desperate flex option. He's a hold, but really, he should be a handcuff. Tyrone, Tracy, Devin, Singletary. This one is difficult here. Really difficult here. Because this situation is and was and looks very much like it could be an absolute mess. We ended up with a scenario where both these running backs were on the field last week. They basically split things at the start of the game. Down the stretch in the fourth quarter, it was basically all Devin Singletary. He played like 14 of the last 17 snaps. Everyone predicted that Tracy would lead the backfield. I'm not willing to say he's not going to lead the backfield moving forward. But like we said on the show repeatedly last week, repeatedly on the show, Tyrone Tracy is not a starter in fantasy just because Cam Scatterbo went down. I said that multiple times on the show last week. Was I surprised at the workload, both in snaps and touches, was so similar between Singletary and Tracy? Yeah. Was it impossible to believe that was the scenario that was going to play out? No. And that's why I said that Tracy's not a direct replacement for Scatterbo, like so many people seem to think when we were talking last week about everyone blowing spending half their fab budget on Tyrone and Tracy, or even I heard some people say blow your fab budget on Tyrone and Tracy. And I would encourage people always to, be careful who you take advice from. That's all I'll say. Both Singletary and Tracy are holds for now. We don't know who the lead back is going to be. We'll continue to analyze this all week. The rankings are up at fantasyguru.com. Remember, they're up because you all want them up this early in the week. There's no analysis that can be done. Jeff Mans was doing these, literally doing this stuff at 3 a.m. yesterday, okay? So we got a long week to figure this stuff out. So please don't set your lineup on a Tuesday morning. Hopefully you understand that. Devin Neal, is he a hold or not? He's a cuff. That's kind of the recurring theme here. If Devin Neal's the random running back you grabbed because you just want to grab a running back because, hey, man, he looks good. Right now, Kamara's still on the team. I don't think they're going to trade him here. We've talked about that in the show. Neal has basically become the third down back for the Saints. The Saints offense is not good. We talked about this yesterday. They don't hold the ball. They don't produce first downs. They don't run enough plays. Even if Alvin Kamara goes down, Neal's probably still just a flex option. So the answer of keep or cut depends upon, do you have Kamara? And are you looking to have nothing until Kamara goes down? He's not usable, Devin Neal. And again, even when AK were to go down with an injury or get dealt, Neal is still very unappealing in that offense right now with the Saints. Jarret Patterson. I saw an article today suggesting Jarret Patterson's going to potentially, how was it worded? It was something like that. Potentially surpass Kamani Vidal. Can't say it's not possible. Okay. And he had 9 carries for 44 yards last week or whatever it was. And, he's been pretty effective, has Patterson. Now, the problem is, and we'll talk a little bit more about the situation with Armando Marsal in a few minutes, the Chargers lost another offensive lineman. Joe Alt's got that ankle issue. He's going to have surgery. His season's over. They can't keep their offensive line healthy. It doesn't matter who the running back is if you can't block. Justin Herbert's running around. Every play, it seems like he's being pressured. Very difficult to have success running the ball when you can't have an offensive line set holes. Is Patterson keeper or cut? I'd say, not a bad, let's throw a couple bucks at him kind of thing, because Omarion Hampton, we got a report saying he won't be back until at least after the bye week, which is week 12 for the Chargers. So there's a little bit of runway here. I'm still anticipating Vidal being the lead back for this team. I'm still anticipating Vidal being the one you want to start with this team. Patterson, to me, is much like a Devin Neal or a Blake Corum. He's an ad in case Vidal gets hurt. He's not an ad because he's taking over the backfield. Tank Bigsby, don't forget, right? The Eagles run the ball effectively. Bigsby was very effective last time out. Barkley's supposed to be fine this week after the bye week, but he does have the hamstring injury. He also has had plenty of injuries throughout the years. Tank Bigsby's a hold, but again, he's really a cuff. Jordan Mason. Aaron Jones is the more exciting, more splashy back. We saw him 9 touches for almost 100 yards from scrimmage the other night. The problem is he tweaked his shoulder again. And, he's an aging player, and he's already had multiple injuries he's dealt with this year. Jordan Mason's a hold. He's not a start. He's not an excited, oh boy, because even when he was starting, it was 15 carries for 57 yards and a touchdown. It was very basic. But Jordan Mason is a hold right now, and he might even end up being a start this week if we get negative news for Aaron Jones. So we are hearing right now that Aaron Jones should be fine and his shoulder should be okay and allow him to play. Rashid Smith is a guy that we have talked up over at fantasyguru.com this season. Very disappointing. We talked about this on the show on Monday when we reviewed all the Sunday action. Very disappointing usage for Rashid Smith. The Chiefs are obviously on a bye this week. Unless you have Pacheco and or Hunt, Rashid Smith is someone you can let go. He's someone you can cut. Now, again, the random grabbing running backs, how many random running backs grabbing have we talking about here that worked? So again, I really encourage everybody, especially at this point of the season, even if you're not a handcuff person, we are at that point of the year where you should consider handcuffing, right? When it hits double digits, even if you're not a handcuff guy, if you've got Barkley, add Bigsby. If you've got Williams, add Corum. If you've got Kamara, add Neal. These kind of things. They're very important to do. But Rashid Smith just has not seen his role grow. And we saw, obviously, the dominance touch count and snap count by Kareem Hunt in that game. Pacheco should be back the next game for the Chiefs as well. Xavier Worthy. You got to keep Xavier Worthy, right? You can't let Xavier Worthy go. Let's not get crazy here. So, Ray, why is he on this list? Because I just wanted to point out the fact that, as we have discussed on the Elite Sports Show on Sirius XM, there's too many pieces here, right? You got Kelsey, you got Rice, you got the backfield, You've got Hollywood Brown who's going to sprinkle in. You got Juju who's going to sprinkle in. You've got Tyquan Thornton to run some fly routes. And you've got Xavier Worthy. There's too many pieces here, right? Which is great for the offense, great for the team, difficult in the fantasy space. One single game this year has Xavier Worthy had 12 PPR points. One. And it was his first game back from injury, week 4. 2 catches, 3 catches, 5 catches, 3 catches, 20 yards, 35 yards, 53 yards, 23 yards. It's touchdown or bust for him. Not a lot of volume. Certainly, they try to get him involved. They always run some gadget plays for him and give him handoffs and all that. But again, his last 5 games, his average PPR effort is 9.2 points. Josh Downs and Alec Pierce, really interesting. Don't overreact to the struggles that Daniel Jones had. Obviously, it was really bad last week, the 5 turnovers. Alec Pierce continues to see a lot of volume. He's had double-digit targets in 3 games, which is very significant for a guy that, 18, 20, 25 yards a catch, right? He's one of the biggest field stretchers in football. Getting double-digit targets is basically why we're seeing him get 65, 70 yards every week because they're just throwing the ball a ton. So he's a keep. So is Josh Downs, but realize that Josh Downs is third in the pecking order. He scored a touchdown in 3 straight games, which is great. But he is clearly third in the pecking order behind, obviously, Pittman and Pierce. And you can even make the argument that he's 4th because of Tyler Warren. So both these guys, Pierce and Downs, are holds. They should be on rosters. Whether you start them or not depends on a variety of factors. Trey Tucker, obviously, Trey Tucker is a keep. This news was, again, we talked about the news earlier with Jakobi Meyers. Tucker becomes the number 1 receiving option as the wide receiver spot for the Raiders. With the move of Jakobi Meyers to the Jaguars. Tyler Lockett was added, so he'll get a lot more run. Lockett basically sent Thornton and Besh to the bench last week. Well, now the 2 youngsters are going to get a lot of run. Tyler Lockett's not a thing right now. We might see double-digit targets like we did last week from Brock Bowers every game the rest of the season. Now 3 final wide receivers to talk about. There are 2 receivers and a tight end to talk about, Andrei Iosivas. The Bengals are on bye this week. Okay, so there's time for T. Higgins to get over what has been called a concussion concern, a head injury concern. My point on Monday, and I'll reiterate it today, is T. Higgins is always hurt. It's why I had Andrei Iosivas, as I mentioned yesterday, in a league all season long until last week. And then he goes 560 and a touchdown because, hey, T. Higgins gets hurt. How it goes. But Iosivas is somebody that, if you got a roster spot, if you're looking good at the wide receiver position and you just want to not a bad ad this week. They're going on a bye, are the Bengals. No one's going to expect them to, do anything significantly negative with T. Higgins, end up on the injured list, miss a month of time or anything like that. Could probably still get Iosivas for 2%, 3%, 5%. And it may be nothing. T. Higgins might be fine. But what we're seeing with Joe Flacco, obviously, is they're going to throw it 40 times a week, and Flacco's going to go for 302 every game. Right? That's kind of where we're at right now. So you want the starting receivers for the Bengals. Iosivas would be that guy if T. Higgins were to be out. Brandon Aiyuk, we still don't have a firm date on Aiyuk or Pearsall. Whether Pearsall or Aiyuk is a keep or a cut is completely up to you in your format. Where your team is at physically overall, where your team is at with bye weeks, how big is your bench, what does your receiving core look like? We still don't have any clarity, any specificity with Aiyuk and Pearsall as to when they're going to return from their knee injuries. We just don't know. We heard a lot of Aiyuk talk week 10. It's week 10. I don't know. And finally, Evan Engram. I'd say in most instances, Evan Engram is a keep. Again, it all depends on your setup and all of that. In a non-PPR, you can move on. In a PPR setup, even though he didn't catch any of his 3 targets last week, let's not overlook the fact that he had caught 4 passes in 5 consecutive games heading into last week. So he's basically giving you 8 points a week for a month, which is, again, we always talk about 8 to 12 points is that tight end zone, right? It's not good, but it's usable. I think that Engram, if he's your starting tight end, okay. Hopefully you can do better, but you may not be able to. The Broncos got to get going on that offense. Too much uncertainty with that team right now. They can't just play every game in the 4th quarter. All right, so there's my rambling. Now it's time for someone else to come on and say some things that make sense. Every Tuesday, Armando Marsal joins us here. You can find Armando's work, and you can find this show and his podcast, Mind of Marsal, by going to fantasyguru.com. Right at the top of the page, there's a toolbar. You see Elite Plus, Elite with the plus mark. Click on that. You can find this show. You can find Armando's show. Find Jeff Mann's show, Justin Fensterman's show. You can find the Race Guru Thunder Hour, the NASCAR show we have. You can find all of those by clicking that Elite Plus tab at the top of the page. You can find him on the live stream on Tuesday nights, tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern, frequently. You can find him on live streams over the weekend when he's helping you set lineups on Sunday, writing articles in Discord. You know him. He's all over the place. He's our man, Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. How you doing, Armando?
I'm doing good, Ray. How about yourself?
Doing okay. Lots going on here. I kind of woke up this morning. I was like, and then things started happening and popping and everything. Surprised by the trade. The Raiders, Jaguars get a piece there. Does this signify that Brian Thomas is not doing well?
I mean, it definitely, look, they lost Hunter. He's on IR. Brian Thomas Jr. suffered an ankle injury this weekend. We don't know the severity that he was already someone that was already battling injuries. There was, some negativity as far as his, stance with the team. So not surprised that the Jaguars went out and got a move, and not surprised that the Raiders parted ways with Myers. I mean, this was something that everyone was expecting. Myers obviously was not happy there in Las Vegas. And he, and now he's on a new home. I think this is definitely a boost for this Jaguars offense. I think it's going to hurt Parker Washington, someone who I think a lot of people were gravitating towards. We saw Myers line up often out of the slot. That's where Parker Washington lines up often. So I think the one that's going to be impacted most there immediately would be Parker Washington, obviously depending on the status of Thomas Jr. there.
Armando Marsal again joins us every Tuesday at about 12:30. We talk over kind of storylines for the week. That's obviously a big one that was just breaking here an hour ago. I mentioned obviously Monday Night Football, and we talked about it. What's your take on the backfield with the Cardinals? Because we heard all last week, Michael Carter's running with the ones. Michael Carter doesn't even play. Over the last month, we've seen Benson lead the backfield in touches. We've seen Carter lead the backfield in touches. We've seen Knight lead the backfield in touches. We've seen DeMarcado lead the backfield in touches. We all want Benson to be back. Is that going to happen this week? We don't know. But do they even have a plan here? Because it really doesn't seem like they have a plan in the backfield with Benson and Connor both out.
No, they got down to their third running back once Connor and Benson went down, and it's been a carousel really since then. It looks like they're riding the hot hand, whoever they think that fits the best for their opponents, and that's really what it looks like to me. They have not, obviously they don't feel comfortable with any of these running backs where they're giving them the majority of the workload on a consistent basis. We saw it last week, or last night, I'm sorry. Bam Knight, 38 snaps, but 11 opportunities. DeMarcado, 27 snaps, 15 opportunities. They're going to roll the hot hand until Benson returns. I know Benson's eligible to return this week, week 10 coming up. There haven't been any updates or any reports suggesting one way or another. So it's definitely something to monitor. As soon as Benson's back, I'm expecting him to, pretty much get this backfield and assume all of a majority of the workload here. Until then, though, this is not a backfield I feel comfortable with. Like, I don't trust any of these running backs outside of super deep leagues, emergency situations. There's no reason why we should be considering any of these running backs in Arizona, even in good matchups.
Armando, I just gave my thoughts on Brashard Smith. Obviously, the Chiefs are on a bye this week. What's your read on their backfield? We all kind of hoped and wished that Brashard Smith would take over. It's clearly not happening. Kareem Hunt took over the backfield with Pacheco out last game. Again, Pacheco's expected back. The team's on a bye this week. Is this another situation that you favor somebody, you would like to utilize somebody, or is this one also a mess, kind of like Arizona?
If I am choosing someone, like if Pacheco is out, I'm going to continue rolling with Hunt. Hunt, going into last week was leading the team in red zone rush attempts, to utilize him in that part of the field often. He was involved as it was. And like we saw last week, he played 47 snaps. Smith played 12 snaps. So for me, I mean, Smith's role is very limited. Outside of deeper leagues, if you need to drop, like Smith, I've been asked a lot of questions about, who should I cut? He's kind of made that, he's been that guy I've been cutting, right? In some of these shallow leagues. So if you need to upgrade, like if there's a running back out there that you need to upgrade your bench or wide receiver, if you're looking for a quarterback to replace Mahomes this week, Smith would be someone that I'm okay with cutting outside of deeper leagues at this point.
Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. Let's talk about the backfield. I kind of glossed over this earlier. Let's talk about the backfield with Denver. I've seen on social media, and I've actually been asked questions in Discord about, is RJ Harvey taking over the backfield? Should we be worried about J.K. Dobbins? And I'm like, he hasn't played 20 snaps in 5 games. He touches the ball 6 times a week. Like, he's not taking over the backfield. Like, let's make zero. J.K. Dobbins gets his 15 touches every week. That's just what happens. Harvey is not taking over the backfield. So who is he? Because, he scored a touchdown in 3 straight games, got like 5 touchdowns in 3 games. That's fantastic production. But Armando, you write about this every week, and you've already mentioned it. He's not on the field. He's not seeing the ball. So who is RJ Harvey?
Harvey remains an awesome stash, ladies and gentlemen. Like, that is who he is. Like, and in deep leagues, right? Like in deep leagues, when you're dealing with injuries, you're dealing with bias, he's somebody you could potentially plug and play. But understand there's volatility involved, and it's very touchdown dependent, right? If he doesn't score a touchdown, or if he doesn't score these receiving touchdowns, he's not really producing. You mentioned it. He had 2 rush attempts. J.K. Dobbins had 15 rush attempts. Yeah. Harvey played 20 offensive snaps. Dobbins played 29 offensive snaps. He was targeted 5 times in this game. Like, that's where his role is. Like, he's utilized at that change of pace back. He's not going to get 5 targets each and every week. So for me, he's someone that you want to continue stashing. He's not someone I want to rely on, but definitely someone that should be rostered, in my opinion, in every single format. If Dobbins goes down, yes, they will go to Harvey. But right now, this is Dobbins' backfield until further notice. Like, I'm sorry, this is his backfield. Like, the numbers are there. He had 16 opportunities compared to the 7 that Harvey had. That's the featured back.
Yeah, and I get it. He's 5 touchdowns in 3 games. I get it, but I'm also surprised sometimes by the amount of people that, I don't know, they're just looking at touchdowns, or they're just looking at fantasy points. Because like I said, he's not even averaging 20 snaps a game the last month. He's touching the ball 4 or 5 times if he's lucky here. The good news is that Beatty and McLaughlin are no longer in his way. Right. That's been the real issue all along. He should have been in this role all season long, right? Harvey should have been. I don't know why they didn't, because he's Sean Payton, who wants to use every running back. But yeah, just be careful, folks. Ultimately, the workload matters.
Can I add one thing? Because I do want to say, like, I want to point it out, like, he has scored a touchdown now, a receiving touchdown in 3 consecutive games, and then he had that, in that Dallas game where he also added those 2 rushing touchdowns. Game was a blowout too, right? Yeah, like, true. So we have to keep that in mind. Like, but he's had, yes, he had 5 targets this past weekend, but he had 3 targets combined in the previous 2 games. He had 2 receptions, catching 2 touchdowns in those 2 games. So each of those receptions was a touchdown. Like, it's not like the volume is not justifying starting him. Yes, you could chase his touchdowns, but if he doesn't score those touchdowns, you're looking at, in one of those games, 2 fantasy points, or not even, I'm sorry, 0.2 fantasy points. So yeah, pretty bad. So yeah, just keep that in mind.
Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. The Chargers lost another lineman. Joe Alt, done for the season, ankle surgery. They're a mess. Like, Justin Herbert is really playing some good football because he's constantly under duress. Their running game is starting to bog, right? They're on lineman 57 right now, right? We got an update that Omarion Hampton is not going to be back until after the bye week, which is week 12 for the Chargers. We didn't even hear when. We just heard his window won't even be open until after. So it's possible it could be week 13, 14, 15 for Hampton. Like, we just don't know when he's going to be back. The Dahl, he didn't do much. 2 of his 4 games have been great. 2 of his 4 games have been disappointing. Jarret Patterson, numbers look a little bit better from the last game. What are we doing with this backfield now that we know Hampton's out for at least a few more weeks?
We got to keep a close eye and see if they make a move, right? Like, that's what I'm going to do. But look, I wrote this in the recap article, and Kimani Vidal did struggle, right? It was a really good matchup. He struggled. There's no denying it. But I still think that they're going to give him, the opportunity to work as that feature back. Now, you have to keep in mind, just like we saw this weekend, and like you mentioned, there's been ups and there's been downs with Vidal. And if you're playing him, you just have to understand that comes with the territory of playing Vidal, especially now they lost Joe Alt. That's a big loss for the offensive line, both for, pass protection and run block too. Like, so it's definitely a big loss here for this offensive line, who has been dealing with injuries throughout the entirety of the season at the offensive line there. So for me, look, I'm holding Vidal. I'm, depending on your situation, is whether you want to start him or not. At this point, but just understand there is definitely volatility as far as Hampton's concerned. This is a great point of why when we get asked questions, I don't like trading for injured players for this specific reason, because you don't know what's going to happen. Like, there was, it was a possibility he was back by now. Then there was a possibility that he's back after the bye week. Now we don't even know when he's going to be back. So this is why it's so risky trading for injured players. And I just wanted to point out, because we've gotten some questions this morning about trading for Hampton, or not this morning, yesterday we got some questions. And this is specifically why I always say I just prefer not trading for injured players, Ray?
Not Dallas has got a question here, and guess what? It's about an injured player. Apparently, Not Dallas made a good move yesterday, trading Jauan Jennings for Jakobi Meyers, thinking he could get traded. Jakobi Meyers did get traded to the Jaguars, certainly in a better situation now. Jauan Jennings, to me, becomes a lot more interesting when Brock Purdy plays, if he ever does, because those two guys, don't forget, Purdy peppers him with targets, right? So he made Not Dallas made a move, trading Jennings for Meyers, thinking he could get traded. Meyers gets traded to the Jaguars. We're good. Okay, we won. Now today, there's an offer for Not Dallas to trade Meyers for Brian Thomas Jr. What do you do?
I don't know what's going on with that ankle. So I don't like trading for injured players until we get some more clarity. Once you get clarity on the ankle, sure, if you want to make the move and take the chance, I won't talk you out of it. But until I get some information, the severity of the ankle injury, if he's going to miss time, what does this mean for him? I'm just staying put.
Yeah, and I think for a broader context here, I'm totally in agreement with you. I say it all the time too. Why are you trading for injured players? In basketball and in hockey, we play 82 games. In baseball, we play 162 games. We play 17 in football, right? If a guy misses a week in baseball, who cares? In the grand scheme, it doesn't matter. If a guy misses a week in football, that's a big deal. If a guy misses 2 or 3 weeks, it's a really big deal. And it's especially big deal when the season's half done like we're right now, right? Like missing a week in July for a baseball player, who cares? Missing 2 of the next 7 games, it kills the value of a fantasy player. I understand what people are trying to do when they're trading for those injured players, but I don't understand the mindset. I don't understand taking back an asset where you don't know where they're at, where you don't know when they're going to be at 100%, if ever this season. And also depending upon where your team is. If you're undefeated, go for it, right? If you're 5-4, what are you doing? You've got to make the playoffs. Doesn't matter if they're healthy in week 15, Armando.
Agree 100%. And then you also have to take this into consideration, right? Like Brian Thomas Jr., without question, is the more, in my opinion, the more talented of the 2 receivers, right? But what has he done this season?
Disappointing.
Obviously not playing to the level that everyone expected. So at this point, like, you're now trading a name value of a player who's hurt, hasn't played up to expectations, seems disgruntled. There seems to be something there for a player that just was acquired by a team. We don't know his role yet. We are expecting him to be the slot receiver. We don't know how the chemistry is going to develop between, him. There's a lot of uncertainty with this kind of trade. So for me, when there's so much uncertainty, there's 2 things. Number one is where you feel comfortable with, like, what do you feel about Thomas? What do you feel about Meyers, like the person making the trade? But for me, I just don't like to make trades when there's so much uncertainty. I'd rather stay with the player I have at that point and kind of take the uncertainty with the player I already have, on my roster.
Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com joins us every Tuesday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Commander season's about officially in the toilet. Maybe it already is. Obviously, all the success last year. This year, they're 3-6. Jaden Daniels is hurt. We don't know how much time he's going to miss yet. We haven't got a definitive there. Terry McLaurin's not expected to play yet again this week. They're just falling apart everywhere. Marcus Mariota. Really, it's a super flex 2 QB question, right? Because no one's going to start him as a top 10 guy. Is he usable in that format with confidence? Is he close your eyes and pray? Like, where are we at? Because there's a lot of things going on there, and not a lot of it's very good with the Commanders.
No, I think he's someone that you could definitely plug in and play in comfortably. He has a little bit of a rushing element to his game as well. We've seen the numbers been pretty solid this season when he's been covering for the Jaden Daniels. So he's finished as a top 20 quarterback in 3 of his 4 games. They're not including obviously this past Monday, but in 3 of the 4 games where he's played a full game, he's finished as a top 20 quarterback 3 instances. So for me, yeah, you could plug him in as a QB2. Depends on your quarterback situation. You don't have to force him in your lineup if you have 2 good quarterbacks, but if he's out there, I definitely think he's just, a nice add in case there's an injury, in case you need a bye week replacement. Definitely very viable in that format, 2 quarterback super flex leagues. But not in a single quarterback league, outside of an emergency situation or an incredible matchup for Mariota. But like you said, this is a team dealing with injuries as well. And I don't think Jaden Daniels is going to return to season myself. And if this team has nothing to play for, they're going to risk further injury to their future quarterback. I think not. So I'm expecting Marcus Mariota to be the starting quarterback for Washington the remainder of the season here.
Armando, let's talk about a tight end. the Packers, you and I have talked a lot about the Packers. And the fact I've talked to everyone about it because we all see the same thing. This is the team that, they throw the ball in, including again last week. They almost had as many guys catch passes as they scored points. 10 guys caught passes, they scored 13 points. They spread the ball around. The leading receiver for this team is Romeo Doubs, but their biggest weapon was Tucker Kraft, excuse me. He's now done for the season. Luke Musgrave is not Kraft, but there was a debate. People forget this. A couple years ago, there was a debate who their starting tight end was going to be here. Like, Musgrave has got some skills. There seems to be a role for him. Is he worth an addition, or is he just one of these guys that's going to be scoring 6 to 10 points every week?
I mean, I think he's going to fall into that bucket, right, that you talked about, the 8 to 12 fantasy points, but I think he's going to have some pretty significant weeks. I view Musgrave, and I said this on Sunday with Fensty and Russell Clay on Sirius XM. We tend to forget these things, right? Like, Musgrave was someone that was expected to come in and carve out a big role. Then they got Kraft. Kraft beat him out. But Musgrave is still talented. He's a good pass catcher. I think he's going to carve out a decent role here. I think he's going to be a red zone weapon. I think there's going to be some volatility in his game. But I do think we're going to see some steely weeks. I don't expect him to be as consistent as we saw Kraft be this season. But I do think you're in that bucket of 8 to 12 points. And I think a lot of people are going to be flocking to Colston Loveland off waivers. You could get Musgrave for much cheaper. And I think Musgrave's, consistency is going to be longer because Loveland depends on Komet's injury, right? So for me, I look at Musgrave. If you had Tucker, you can not a 1v1 replacement, but I do think you can go out there and get Musgrave and you'll be okay.
I love this report that I'm seeing here as I'm checking the news because it is trade deadline day. There's a report from ESPN that Michael Mayer may be more involved in the offense with Jakobi Meyers traded to the Jaguars. Wow. Great reporting. I could have not. I couldn't have figured that out on my own. That's number one. Number two, they ran 12 personnel last week. The Raiders did like 80+% of the snaps. So they completely changed last week from 3 wide receivers to 2 wide receivers. Great reporting. Duh. What do you think about Michael Mayer, though? Because, again, they did, not that Jakobi Meyers was doing anything. He was catching 4 passes a week, but a huge seismic shift in player personnel choices last week for plays. And then the loss of Myers. Does that make Mayer usable on a weekly basis?
That's more for a tight end. I would view that more in a tight end premium league, deeper formats like that. Not necessarily a 12 or even 14 team league, like where you're starting one tight end. I don't see it. Now, it's something to definitely keep an eye on, right? Like, you want to see if that role increases as far as the target share. Like, if he's now seeing a 17 to 18%, and I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if he's seeing a 15 to 20%, let's say a consistent target share, then you want to kind of make that move, and maybe he becomes a flex viable option for you. But I only see this in tight end premium leagues. I don't really see this in a 12 or even 14 team league.
Breaking news, by the way, Ian Rappaport. Sauce Gardner has been traded to the Colts. Now he's been injured.
Yes, but still,
I think he might be a little more famous for his name than his game, though there's been accolades here, obviously. Colts obviously going for it, right, at 7-2. So Gardner to the Colts, not really a focus of the show. We don't talk a lot IDP. And again, what's his role going to be early on for the Colts and all that kind of stuff. The Colts desperately need defensive backs. Like, that's an area of obvious need. They have a lot of injuries in the defensive backfield. Follow-up question. Does this signify, are we going to get a Breece Hall trade? Because again, the Jets head coach still won't say who the quarterback is. I don't understand what they're doing. I don't get it.
This is one of those situations, Ray, where you just throw up your hand to say, I don't know.
Yeah. Great. Look, Justin Fields is your quarterback. Like, what are you doing? You played a great game last time out. You had a whole bye week, and then Aaron Glenn comes out and talks to the media and says, I'm not really sure who the quarterback is. What is going on?
I think it's ludicrous. I think it's just sometimes these coaches try to play too many games, right? Like, just do your job, coach football. That's it. Like, don't play the games with the media and stuff like that. I think that's what he's doing right now. I think he firmly knows who his quarterback is going to be this week. I believe it's going to be Justin Fields. Like, you got to, like, at the end of the day, yes, you've seen what you've had, but this has been a mess of a season for you. Like, continue seeing if you can develop or you can work with Justin Fields, because otherwise, you're going to have to redo this all over next season, right? Like, Tyrod Taylor is definitely not the answer for you. So as far as that's concerned, that's the quarterback. Then to follow here with the Breece Hall, I believe that he can be moved before the deadline. It's just a matter of are they gonna get what they want? I don't think so. Just like Jalen Waddle, they're asking for a first-round pick. Like, it's not going to happen. So I feel like if the Jets want to make a move, they're really, truly looking to move Hall as they've kind of hinted towards, it's going to have to be at a more reasonable price. So, but look, we just talked about, and I don't think the Chargers will be in play for him. But teams like New England, teams like the Chargers, like these are teams that, even the Chiefs to a certain extent could use a running back like Breece Hall, and it would really change the dynamic of the offense. So keep an eye out, because I do believe that there are multiple teams out in the market right now for a running back position. So I would not be stunned. I hope not, because you're seeing so much volume, and I don't want that volume to go away, right? Like I don't care if it's in a bad offense. I want 20 plus opportunities on a weekly basis.
Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. Now I'm looking at the plan that Armando and I had. We're going to talk Torrey Horton. We're going to talk Chris Olave. We're going to talk Rashid Shaheed. Well, we're going to all talk about those three guys still, but we're completely changing why we're talking about them. Tom Pelissero just reported that Rashid Shaheed has been traded to the Seahawks. So Shaheed goes to the Seahawks, which kills Horton's outlook, which kills Cooper Kupp's outlook. Though, again, Shaheed is more about that field stretcher, so it's not like he's taken over for Kupp or anything like that. But let's be legitimate here. They didn't trade for Shaheed to throw him 2 passes a week. So Shaheed to the Seahawks, what do you think about that, number one? And number two, Olave had a down first full game with Tyler Shuck. That's not surprising. Tyler Shuck's a young quarterback. The offense isn't very good. The Saints losing the weapon that did have the connection with Tyler Shuck, odd timing. And clearly the Saints, let's be honest about this, are trying to get the first pick, clearly. They're not caring about winning. What are we looking with Olave and Shaheed in particular now? Because those two guys' roles completely changed here in the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, so Horton's out of the radar, right? For us, I think we could both agree with that. Shaheed's going to come in and step on the outside. Like, he's an outside receiver. You mentioned that he's a field stretcher. I think I'm interested to see if they move, if Cooper Kupp continues to miss time, what they do with Smith and Jigba there, if they move him a little bit more to the slot. He's been doing phenomenal out wide, but I'm interested to see if they move him out a little bit more into the slot more often. But I think Shaheed's going to be the wide receiver 2 here alongside Smith and Jigba. I think he's someone that has fantasy relevance at this point. Sam Darnold has looked great there in Seattle. So for me, I like this move. He obviously gets an improvement at the quarterback position for Shaheed. I think it's a better offense, a better team. So good situation. I look at his fantasy stock as one that's going to be, increased here. A viable flex play for a lot of fantasy managers. Could be some weeks where he's wide receiver 3, depending on how many teams are on bye, depending on some of the injuries. For me, as far as Kupp is concerned, he's been off my radar most of this season. Doesn't really change anything for me. Doesn't move the needles. I think this is a favorable for Olave. We saw this past week in Shaheed leading, between the two. He led in targets. I think now Olave is going to see a lot of targets. I think there's going to be ups and downs given the state of this offense. I'm not a shook guy. This offense did not look good this past weekend. So for me, I look Olave as someone that's going to be seeing a ton of volume, but there's going to be volatility in the production, and he's going to be a boomer bust, I think, receiver moving forward here, given the status of the quarterback position in New Orleans.
Juwan Johnson, scored a touchdown last week and everything. He's the number 2 weapon on pass catching at this point, right?
Yeah, he is. He is someone, and we're talking about a Saints team that's probably going to be trailing often, right? Like, I think they're going to be trailing here, so they're going to have to pass a lot. But what's the quality of these passes, and what's the quality of these targets that some of these receivers are catching? We saw it this past week. He had a pretty decent game. I talked about it on Sunday. Like, if you're looking for a plug and play tight end, he falls in that bucket of the 7 to 10 fantasy points, 7 to 12 fantasy points, like you talked about. Again, there's a lot of those little tight ends in that bucket. It's just a matter of which one you want to be invested in. But yes, I do think that he's going to continue to see a decent amount of opportunities moving forward.
Whew. Usually this is baseball. We don't usually get trades during football.
This is fun. This is fun.
Yeah, I like it. It's not bad. Final question to ask you about. The guy's not involved in the trade, at least yet. Cedric Tillman is expected to return for the Browns this week. Not official, but he's expected to return from an injury. This passing attack has been all tight ends since Gabriel took over. I assume you're going to say the same thing. Tillman, if you want to go nuts in the DFS and try to win a GPP, okay. But is there any interest in adding him? Because I have received a couple of questions about Cedric Tillman. What are your thoughts?
I view him as, if you want to add him, a speculative ad, right? To kind of see what happens. Do I want to plug and play him? Look, I'm a big Cedric Tillman guy. I think he's very talented. I just don't trust the Cleveland passing game, outside of, like you mentioned, the tight ends. Like the receivers really haven't been consistent. There hasn't been any excitement there for me. So for me, I'll speculative ad, you kind of take the wait and see approach. If you have the roster spot, I'm not going to drop an asset to add Tillman at this point. I'm not going to drop, running back depth. I've seen a lot of running back depth to add these pieces. I prefer holding that running back depth because one injury can change the entire dynamic for that running back, right? Whereas receivers, they're easier to get off waivers than the running backs are. So for me, speculative ad, if you have the roster spot, if you have the extra bench spot, otherwise, not someone I'm overly interested in, Ray.
Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com joined us every Tuesday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. You can follow him on Twitter X at Armando_Marsal. You can find him in Discord. You can find his show, Mind of Marsal, by going to fantasyguru.com, clicking that Elite Plus tab at the top of the page. You can find this show that he's on with us right now, as well as his show. A couple of comments here in the chat room before we let you run, Armando. Mr. Baderman's got a question here, and number one, I'm going to say this to Ethan. Set a depth chart. Because Ethan says right here, do I keep guessing which one to sit? I've got A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Michael Pittman, Garrett Wilson. You got to, number one, you need to be in a 3 wide receiver league. I know he says he's going to stay in a 2 wide receiver league. 2 wide receiver leagues, I'm sorry to say it, Ethan, it's not 1986. Like, you got to get beyond that. You got to set a depth chart. Okay. If you have 4 top 15 wide receivers, which I would say Brown, Jefferson, Pittman, and Wilson are, you're going to guess wrong all the time if you are pulling 1 or 2 guys out every week. You've got to just set a depth chart and just leave it and not mess around with it and not play matchups. That would be my main advice. Now, you can piggyback off that and say your piece to Armando. And he also is talking about trading one to upgrade the running back position. I'm all about, you just talked about, I'm all about building depth at the running back spot. It all depends what that trade looks like.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, right? Like, this is one of those situations where you have a handful of top 15, top 20 wide receivers where they're good starts pretty much each and every week. There's going to be volatility. If you're doing the matchup thing, it's going to lead to mistakes, right? We've seen it. Like, we've seen in good matchups, some of these receivers struggle. We've seen in bad matchups, some of these receivers do great. I would keep a depth chart, like you said. As far as trading, yes, I actually think it's a very good idea. If you're this deep, why not trade a receiver for a running back? You're hurting at the position. I'm sure you can help another fantasy manager, another team at the receiver position. They can help you at the running back position. And I'm always about that. I talked about that on one of my latest podcasts, Ray, where the goal is not to like fleece someone. Like, the goal is to help someone help you, right? And right now you have enough wide receiver depth that you could probably help another roster and see how they can help your roster by acquiring a running back. So, and as far as which running back to target, like, if you're giving up a wide receiver 1, I'm looking for a running back 1. If you're giving a wide receiver 2, I'm looking for a running back 2 in return. And if you're giving consistency, I'm also looking for consistency in return. So, like, try to match what you're giving into what you're getting.
And make sure you check bye weeks.
Yes, very important.
Very important.
Very important.
Tyler Moe's got a question. 3-6, 10-team PPR. We're on the cusp here, Armando. We're 3-6. Got Rice on a bye. Would you try to trade Rice for a player that I can start this week? And the reason Tyler asked that is that, Brian Thomas Jr., we talked about earlier, uncertain to play. Rice is obviously not going to play because he's on a bye. Brown is going to play. Pearsall. So Tyler may not even have 2 active wide receivers out of this group, which is unfortunate because this is a good group of wide receivers. What are you doing here? I mean, Rice, if you trade Rice, like, you need to get a star back or 2 pieces back, and maybe getting 2 pieces back is better for a team that's 3-6.
Yeah, if you're trading, so I personally don't like to trade for 1 week, right? Like, if I'd rather just go to the waiver wires and figure it out for that 1 week. Right. I would look at this. If you're making this deal, is not to just plug in someone this week and now, okay, you're done, you win this week. If you're making this deal, like you said, you're moving Rice, you're getting a quality haul in return. He's a wide receiver 1. At the end of the day, he's a wide receiver 1. That's who Rice is right now. And I'm looking for an elite player in return, one who is going to be as consistent as Rice, one who already had his bye week, because Rice is going through his bye week now. I wouldn't want to go through this again. So that's what I would do. Or multiple pieces where you're getting not 1, but like 2 or 3 starters in return to help this 3-6 team. What I'm seeing here is just too many injured receivers, right? Like Pearsall, BTJ, like in these kind of shallow leagues, you can't afford to hold that many injured players.
Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. Armando, what do you got going this week? I'm sure you've got nothing planned here the next couple of days.
I'm on vacation, just hanging
nice.
out. I kid. We got a podcast dropping this afternoon, Tuesday night live stream. And then we got obviously the staff picks. Keep an eye out for the Week 10 content page. That'll be posted this overnight tonight. We got the red zone usage report. We got the touches and opportunities and snap counts that's coming out as well. We also have Friday, another podcast, another episode of the Armando Marsal podcast. And Sunday, I always say Sunday morning, but it's Sunday noon. I log in the morning, but I start talking in the afternoon, right? It's one of those tricky situations. Right, but Sunday, noon Eastern, Chris Rose and myself talking football right up until kickoff. And of course, you can find me on Discord pretty much all week long at random times of the day, usually in the evenings and more. All off times of the day. Find me in there, ask me questions, tag me, and I'll answer those.
Remember, you can find this show that we're talking on right now, as well as Armando's show. Go to fantasyguru.com, click that Elite Plus tab at the top of the page there in the toolbar, and you can find all the shows on the Elite Sports Network. Armando, as always, a lot of fun. Some breaking news to talk about. We don't normally get that, so that was kind of cool too. And hope you have a good week while not doing anything other than 417 things that you listed. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on.
You got it. He's Armando Marsal. I'm Ray Flowers. Tomorrow, Justin Fensterman will be here, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'll be on with Jeff Manns on Wednesdays, as I am every week, 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. That show is Monday through Friday, 2 to 5. So Jeff will obviously have much more on all the other trades, including the Shaheed deal that Armando and I broke down. And Armando mentioned it too. Don't forget Sunday nights. Justin Fensterman and Russell Clay, 6 to 9 Eastern on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, talking the day of football. For Armando, I'm Ray. This has been Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com. Have a great one, folks.